Don't have any witty banter today, so Sufjan Stevens, Kerry Lowell, let's go. Hello everyone, it is the Afro Avenger here with another album review, and today's album is Carrie Lowell by Sufjan Stevens. It was released March 31st of 2015. There is no chart information as much as I could find. It was released on the label Asthmatic Kitty, which is Sufjan's own record label, and it doesn't have any singles. So anyways, without further ado, let's get this started. Now, this album is widely regarded as one of the best albums from last year, and sadly enough, it was so overlooked by the mainstream media, and if you ask me, this album really should have been nominated for an Album of the Year award at the Grammys. It really tugs at the heartstrings, and it's so beautiful in such simple ways. Sufjan Stevens has dealt in many different genres such as Baroque pop, folktronica, and art rock, but the style in which this album mainly lies in is indie folk. As a matter of fact, for the majority of these tracks, the only instruments you hear are the acoustic guitar and Sufjan's vocals, which are ever so carefully double-tracked over each other, almost as perfectly as Brian Wilson or the Beach Boys did it. Much of the album deals with loneliness and Sufjan grieving the death of his mother, who the album is partially named after, Carrie, and his numerous regrets regarding the life he had, or a lack thereof, with his mother leading up to her death. You see, according to this album, Sufjan Stevens was never really close to his mother, and after her death, he didn't really know how to feel or even how to process the idea of his mother dying. Many of the tracks on here, such as Should Have Known Better, are him trying to gather his thoughts and grieve properly over his mother. His deceased mother is his entire muse for this album, and the lyrics are so deep and personal in here, it really makes one want to appreciate their mother more. The track All of Me Wants All of You does something rather interesting in that he's basically writing a love letter that could be written both to a lover and to his mother equally. He's saying that he wants the person he's writing to, but it's so vague enough to be written to either person. Sufjan Stevens has stated that he is indeed a Christian, and on the track Drawn to the Blood he makes several biblical references. In the lyrics he says that when he prays, he always prays for love, even praying for people to find love. But he questions his faith after his mother passes away, saying, "What did I do to deserve this?" It's a common thing to happen, especially among believers. Of course, life will always throw you curveballs, and whether you believe in God or not, nobody gets special treatment when it comes to life. He equates this betrayal in his life to how Delilah betrayed Samson in the Bible. Really cool allusions and metaphors going on here. The track Eugene is probably a good place to talk about another prevalent theme on this album, Sufjan's days growing up in Eugene, Oregon. Much of this album makes references to landmarks in Eugene, as well as Sufjan just talking about his days going there to be with his mother and stepfather. It's among the most personal songs on this album, which is really saying something because every single track on here is extremely personal. Sufjan would go as far as to knock an ashtray over for not getting the attention of his mother, even if it meant he would be getting punished for it. Much of the first half of the track talks about things such as that, while near the end, Sufjan is again talking about his depression and trying to grasp the fact that someone he never could quite get close enough to is gone forever. In the last line he says, "What's the point of singing songs if they'll never even hear you?" Basically saying, what's the point of even writing songs about his mother if she'll never even get to hear them herself? Now, the track 4th of July is an actual conversation between Sufjan and his mother as she's dying in the form of a song. As opposed to the usual single acoustic guitar, this track has Sufjan playing a piano with ambient sound effects. He says he could be like the sky on the 4th of July, in other words, he could light up the darkness, which is so fitting because of this dark time in Sufjan's life. Throughout the song, his mother keeps using different terms of endearment, all of them being named after birds such as a dove, a loon, a hawk, etc., and keeps asking him why he's crying, fully knowing that her leaving was most likely the reason, regardless of it being the right decision. The next couple of tracks continue the grief, such as The Only Thing being about Sufjan feeling a connection with his deceased mother by doing a bunch of reckless things just as she did, and realizing that maybe she wasn't the loving mother he thought she was before. And on the title track, Carrie Lowell, he goes back to his childhood, recounting different events that occurred regarding his mother and his stepfather. This track in particular has amazing instrumentation, even featuring a banjo in the background. In John My Beloved, he's again equating his own life to biblical events, specifically John, Jesus' disciple. Much of this track, in fact, is just about John wanting to be closer to Jesus. This could be referring to Sufjan wanting to have been closer to his mother or someone he was into at that point. As we near the end of the album, we come to No Shade in the Shadow of the Cross, where we return to the theme we heard on The Only Thing about Sufjan resorting to self-destructive behavior in order to deal with the pain and depression of losing his mother, such as abusing drugs and alcohol, as well as having frequent sex. One might think the cross he's referring to in this song is referring to the cross Jesus died on, because, as I already mentioned, he makes many biblical references on this album. However, it's more likely that he's referring to his mother's gravestone, which is in the shape of a cross. The final track on the album, Blue Bucket of Gold, refers to the Blue Bucket gold mine rumored to be in the Oregon wilderness. Much of the song is Sufjan trying to reach out to others in order to find love and companionship, the kind his mother never gave to him. Sadly enough, there really isn't much closure at all. It just kind of ends with that, reaching out, and we never know if his request was met, as the track drops the piano and Sufjan's vocals for a hauntingly gorgeous chant ending. Overall, easily one of the best albums of 2015. Super underrated. It's such a gorgeous album that's not seeming to get much attention from any kind of mainstream audience, but perhaps it wasn't meant for a mainstream audience. And I know I said that this album should have been nominated for Album of the Year, but as we all know by now, Grammys and radio airplay and album sales don't equate to great artistry. Great art speaks for itself, and many critics have already hailed this album as among the best of 2015, and I completely agree. I don't have a single negative thing to say about this album. It's so lovely and so very sad all at the same time. Sufjan is truly allowing us to a front row seat to the inside of his heart and inside of his mind, and he's putting all of his feelings out there just for us to listen to. I love this album, and my favorite tracks are probably 4th of July, Should Have Known Better, Death with Dignity, the title track, Carrie Lowell, and the final track, Blue Bucket of Gold. I recommend this album to anyone who's into indie folk, acoustic folk, or anyone who's just into really good music. Anyways, that does it for this album review. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, please hit that like button and also subscribe if you want to see more. And if there is a song or an album that you want to see reviewed on this channel, just leave a comment down below or check out my Facebook or my Twitter. The links are in the description. But anyways, thank you all again for watching. I will see you all in the next video. So long.